welcome if you've never been here before. Thank you for coming. Welcome back if you are just tuning in to the next part in our series, How to Become a Front-End Web Developer. Today we're going to be covering HTML, and anyone that's just tuning in, this series of videos is going to be a very general overview on what it takes to become a front-end web developer. We're trying to start from a place of absolute beginner, and so the other video, if you've not seen it, you can check out my channel. It's just an overview of the steps, and today we're going to begin diving into those steps, starting with what is HTML. I pointed out the other day that there's a wonderful resource, w3schools.com. These are the people that set the standards for websites, and they offer all kinds of tutorials for many different languages that are super helpful. But before we get into that, I wanted to take a step back and just go over some really basic stuff with HTML. So let's talk quickly about what it is that you need to get going. In order to do what I'm doing, if you want to follow along, all you need is any web browser, whether it's Safari, Chrome, Firefox, or any other browser will work, and a text editor. Windows has Notepad, MacBook has TextEdit. You can use command line if you're familiar with command line. You can use terminal, and I'll show that in a minute. But before we get started here, I wanted to give you a brief overview, talk about HTML for a minute, and look at what it is, and then kind of show you guys an issue I ran into with MacBooks. So most people would start by opening up a text editor. I'm on MacBook, so this is TextEdit, and then I've just created a new document. Now, the first thing that all HTML documents have is an opening tag. Now, what a tag is it is an opening bracket followed by some text followed by a closing bracket, and then this would be what they call an opening tag, and then most are followed up with what's called a closing tag, and that is the opening bracket, a slash, the same text, and then the closing bracket, and then put together it would be opening tag. That's the opening tag, and this is the closing tag. So that's kind of the general format of all HTML. Now, there's all different kinds of tags that exist in HTML, and I won't go into them all, but in order to be an HTML document, there's some standard ones that exist. And what they are is we have to start all HTML documents with this opening tag here, and it's doc type HTML. And then we have our beginning HTML tag. Now everything inside here is HTML. And then we have a head, opening head. Inside of our head we usually have titles. And now inside of this opening one, we'll put the closing right away. And then inside of here is what our title for our page will be. And this is used in a few places. We'll put it in here, welcome to the page, and we'll put it in here, and I'll show you guys where it's displayed. And then after the head, I'm leaving out some, as we get going, you'll see that there are many other tags that go in the head section. Between this opening and this closing head, there's some meta tags, there's JavaScript tags, but we won't get into all those now. This is just basic stuff. So then the rest of our document is going to be called a body. And the body is saying this is the bulk, this is the body of our HTML document. And so anything that you put in here is what is going to be displayed. And then let's just close this. And now this is the whole setup for an HTML document. And we can just tab these over if that helps people visualize. kind of the structure here. So you have this doc type, and then you have an opening HTML tag. You have a head section, which can have a few other tags, but it for sure will have a title. You have a body section, and then here's where we put the bulk of our content. Let's put an H1, and what this is saying is this is a header level 1. We'll get into the SEO stuff, search engine optimization stuff later, but there's a proper format for HTML documents, and one of them is that each page should have, a level 1 heading, and this is by default styled a certain way depending on which browser you're using. We won't get into the styles just yet. Let's just put some text in here, and we can show you guys what this looks like. So this will be and welcome to HTML, and then all text needs to go in some sort of paragraph tag. This is a paragraph of text. So now we save this, okay? We save this, and here's where I'm going to point out an issue with MacBook. So this text editor, it's asking for a title. So I'm going to give this a title and say Mac HTML. Okay, and now it's asking for a format here, and MacBook is saying that they will make the extension .html. By default, and for most of you out there, you're going to want to name your file .html, and what this is doing is telling your operating system and telling your browser what kind of document is, right? So this is not a rich text document, this is not a plain text document, this is not a Word document, this is an HTML document. And so let's click HTML and let's save this. So in order to display this HTML, we would want to give this to our browser. Now there's a bunch of different easy ways to do that. The easiest is to open up Chrome and just find your file wherever you've saved it and just drag it over, okay? And what you'll notice here is rather than displaying this HTML the way it should be, it is displaying it as text, and this is not what you're supposed to see. This is a problem, I think, with the encoding. I think Mac has got some sort of issue here. So if you're doing this on Windows, so long as you have the .html and you've saved it, this should not be what you see. Again, this is a problem with Mac, and you can see that the HTML tag is correct. So there's something with the encoding there that's not doing what it's supposed to do. So I have created another version using the terminal, and so in order to be as basic as possible, and this is that version here, and I'll drag that over and we can see. So it's all the same stuff in the background, all the same. I entered all the same word for word what was in there. So here we see what was actually supposed to be displayed, and this should be what you see, is welcome to my page. In most operating systems, you also can just right click and open with and say Google. Even with MacBook, the one that I made with Mac, you'll see does not open correctly, even though it has the correct extension. So interesting little tidbit there. So if you're on MacBook, hopefully I just saved you a headache and got you the solution. The solution is to use a different text editor, basically. You can go to the App Store and get a different one. I'm familiar with Command Line, and so I just opened up a terminal and used Nano is a terminal-based text editor, and then saved that file out, and it renders correctly. So that was our little detour for the day. back to the tutorial on W3 Schools. And I'm not going to get too far into this. I'm going to leave the majority of the homework up to you guys, but I just want to point out here that here is the W3 beginning of Learn HTML. And this is what I want to point out. They have this try it yourself. And if you click this, it brings you to another little page where you can practice all of your HTML in one spot. And you don't have to reload it, you don't have to resave it, you don't have to drag your file over. You can just enter in whatever changes you want and click the run button, and you can immediately see them here. So this is a really great way of quickly working through some of these basic tags. And again, I'm not going to go into each specific tag, but all of them, we have part of this tutorial is got everything that you guys need to know about HTML. So I'm not going to go into each one. I just want to point this tool out to you and remind you again of the tutorial here on w3schools.com. Come finish the tutorial, take this all the way through to the end, and the next video we will pick up with CSS, where we're using CSS to style these HTML elements. So I hope you found this video helpful. Stay tuned and like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when the next video is coming, and have a great day.